Well, hello and welcome to yet another amazing episode of the Goldmine Show. We keep reminding you that there is greatness on the inside of you, and that's why we keep coming. Just to remind you, we said we will tell you the stories, we will give you the principles, we will share experiences, just to make sure that then we bring out the greatness inside of you. No one will be more excited to see your greatness coming out than the Goldmine crew, and therefore that's exactly why we come. We're coming to you straight from the Highlands Cafe right here in Kilimani, and we want to invite you, man. They've got amazing stuff out here. You come out, enjoy some of the greatest smoothies, enjoy some of the greatest hospitality right at the Highlands Cafe. Remember also to just follow us on the Goldmine Show on Facebook, on YouTube, as well as on Instagram. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and let's build a great community that believes in the power and the greatness inside of us. Now, have you ever thought about how limiting allowing people to stereotype you would be? Today's show is just about that, because we must refuse to be stereotyped. We must allow the greatness inside of us to be, and none other is greater to talk about this than an amazing friend, man. If I start talking about his titles, let's try this. He's a senior pastor of the New Birth Covenant Church. He is an author. He is, and by the way, when I say an author, he's a published author. He is an artist. He is a psalmist. And I'm so proud to say he's also the producer of my shows, none other than Reverend C.J Atemo.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, thanks, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I was looking for the guy you were introducing.
Nah, that's happened to me. I'm sure I said articulate media in there, man.
I was listening to you and I'm thinking, oh man, I'm waiting for this guest.
You know, you're the lion who has refused to be caged, my friend.
Yeah.
So glad to have you on the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
And it's important for everyone to know, man, the producer of this amazing show is none other than the man right in front of us here.
Thanks
Man,
for the privilege.
I'm so glad that you allowed us to partner with you in producing the Goldmine Show.
Well, I think it was time. And you've had this thing for quite a while.
It's been a baby for a long time.
Yeah.
You make dreams happen and come to pass.
We just come midwife it. Yeah. We just had to midwife it.
Absolutely, and you've done an amazing job. And let me say this. I mean, everyone who's given me reviews about the Goldmine Show, they say you've done an amazing job, and I want to agree with them. You've done an amazing job.
Thank you. And of course, with the team that we work with, amazing people.
You have an amazing team, and unfortunately, a lot of them may not be seen, but they're behind all these cameras up in here, doing an amazing job.
True.
But Chris, man, you're one interesting man. Allow me to say it. You wear many faces,
Right.
and you bring on the table many different forms of value.
Right.
Let's start with you as a pastor.
Right.
Where did all this begin, man?
Well, that's the last one that I wanted to wear.
All
By
right.
all means.
Right.
When I was growing up, I thought I would either be a lawyer or a doctor.
Correct.
And of course, at that particular point, those are the professions that most people desired.
Right.
Law, because I was reading a lot of things that were happening. Those were the days when people were clamoring for multi-party for quite a number of years.
Correct.
And then globally as well.
Right.
There was a East versus West
Right.
war. So
Right.
politics was really at the center of most of the things. There was liberation struggles all around. Whether you were talking about black liberation in the U.S. and civil rights movement, and then the South African fight for freedom, and Zimbabwe had just come into their independence. So you'd hear a lot of these things of people fighting for civil liberties,
Right.
both locally and abroad.
Right.
It looked very cool
Right.
to do that.
Right.
And just even have these guys who would be the great orators that they were then.
Right.
On the other hand, again, there was this prestige with being a doctor.
Right.
And when we were growing up, science was supposed to be for men.
Right.
If you're a man, if you're a boy, you're not supposed to do anything that was
You're going to have to prove your mettle with the science.
with the sciences.
Right.
So I was caught in between there.
Right.
But looking back now,
Yep.
I realized that communication and arts and media was somehow on the inside of me.
Right.
Because I started writing my articles when I was in primary school.
Whoa.
I started writing my poems when I was in primary school.
Right.
And I would go with my poems to the stage. The
Right.
reason was I did not want the teachers to engage me when it was prize giving day, drama festivals and stuff. So I was trying to dodge that, and I knew they would get me on. So I started writing. One of my first poems that I wrote way back in the 80s was called South Africa We Mourn.
Right.
Before Nelson Mandela was released from prison, so I wrote a poem on the South African liberation struggle.
Right.
Then I would be doing all these articles, and I did that even in high school, just going on. So I never thought...
So writing has been you.
Well, it's a way of expression. You know, I was drawing, I was writing.
Right.
I'm a pencil artist.
Right.
I'm a pencil artist. I'm not a painter, but I'm a pencil artist.
What does that mean? I mean, explain
That means that
Right.
that means that I draw using the pencil.
Right.
I'm a fine artist, but mostly I will use the pencil. There are
Right.
people who are fine artists who will use painting and other stuff, but
Right.
I'm a pencil artist.
Right.
So
So you actually draw?
yes, I do. So
Well, I thought I knew you, Chris.
so all of these things,
Right.
you know, I don't think that ministry was anywhere around me because I did not grow up with people who were in ministry.
Right.
And at that particular point again, you know, when you talk about 30 to nearly 40 years ago,
Right.
I don't think that being a preacher was cool.
Right.
It wasn't cool. It's a bit cool now. Because the image, you know, people have worked on their image, they've worked on their branding, they've worked
Right.
on all of that.
Right.
Before it was just purely a call.
Right.
You probably have this pastor who will wear one coat like the whole year.
Right.
You know, nothing glamorous about them.
And the trousers on the high waist as well.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, they were just there. So it wasn't that there was anything that would have inclined me
Correct.
towards anything to do with ministry.
Right.
So that is the last one
Right.
that I ever thought.
Right.
But I had an experience. I had an experience several times, and one of them just led me to this. It was
Right.
an experience that we probably talk about.
On the show, exclusively on the Goldmine.
Yeah,
Right,
But,
yeah.
but there was quite a supernatural experience
Right.
that just began to refocus my life on
Right.
what was my purpose,
Right.
and trying to find direction.
Right.
One of the greatest battles I ever had, tennis, was to define what am I supposed to do.
Correct.
Because at some point I was doing the drawing.
Right.
I would draw and try to make money out of it.
Right.
Just trying to put some food on the table, thinking, why don't I use this gift?
So you actually commercialized that gift.
Yes, at some point I did. But then,
Right.
you know, again, it wasn't very easy at that particular point. A lot has changed. You know,
Right.
certain things that are easy for people to do right now
Right.
were not easy 20 years
Back
ago,
then.
25 years
Right.
ago.
Right.
People did not have such an appreciation of art
Correct.
then
Correct.
as they do right
Correct.
now.
Correct.
Today, you will charge people 50, 70,000 for photography at a wedding.
And they will pay.
They will pay.
Absolutely.
Because they appreciate that. Today,
20, 30 years ago, they would go to a studio, take some black and
Oh,
white
man.
pictures, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
about how they
that's
remember
it.
their wedding.
that's
Right,
it.
right.
Today, you will make 40,000 as a makeup artist on a wedding.
Right.
Before, you just needed to buy your lipstick
Right.
and have some powder.
I think the appreciation for looking good and all of that stuff is growing as we go along.
Yes.
And therefore, then people are willing to invest in some of these things,
Yeah.
which probably they wouldn't have done a few years ago.
That's true.
Correct.
So I think, you know, I was trying to juggle in between quite a number of things.
Right.
Like, so which direction should I go?
Right.
So the call of God became what you'd call the true north.
Right.
It is what brought order
Right.
into all of the gifts that
Right.
are being expressed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
And you see, you make an important point, because I think that point of trying to define self
Yeah.
is a real struggle for a lot of people.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, some of them will define it at 20. Some are still trying to look for themselves at 40.
True.
A few of them will even retire not knowing what exactly they should do in retirement.
That's true.
And in the meantime, those giftings are still resident on the inside, but you're not sure then how do I bring it out?
Yeah.
And how do I package it out? And how do I then exercise any of these things? And I'm just curious just to know that then when then you're looking for this and that voice of God in terms of calling to ministry came, how did that exactly happen and how has that shaped it out?
For me, it had to be very dramatic.
Right.
It had to be very dramatic and spectacular.
Right.
It actually had... the reason I don't share that much is because some people then would not understand that, but it it involved what we call an out-of-body experience, where
Right.
you literally leave your body,
Correct.
which other people would call you're clinically dead.
Right.
And my battle in my spirit was that if I come back, I will serve you.
Yep.
It was an interesting year. I just lost my dad in his sleep. I had lost my maternal grandfather
Right.
in his sleep.
Right.
I was dying in my sleep, and I had this voice saying to me, "Your mother lost the father,
Right.
lost their husband, and losing a son, and that son is you." I had been in the faith in high school,
Right.
but drawn back.
Right.
So this then became the point of me getting back.
Right.
And not just coming back into the faith, but coming back straight into doing the work that God had for me
Right.
at a particular point.
Right.
Because I battled in the night.
Right.
It came in three phases,
Right.
Dennis.
Right.
There was the first night I'm battling and I'm choking, and I think that's not really a big deal, but
Right.
it scared me a bit. The second time, a bit more intense.
Right.
The third time, I literally lifted out of my body. When I woke up, I was sweating and there were tears.
Right.
And I think I had shaken a lot on the bed. It had moved.
Right.
Interestingly, 3 months before that, that's exactly how my grandfather died. They said that his bed was shaking, and then the man just died in his sleep.
So it was almost replaying.
Yes, and I was hearing this voice. Your
Right.
mother has lost the husband, has lost the father, is
And
losing
lose
a
a
son,
son.
and that son is you.
And you're going through that moment at
So
that point.
I cried out in my spirit and said,
Right.
Jesus, if you
Right.
save me, I will serve you.
Right.
You know,
Right.
got back into my body. I did not talk to anybody.
Right.
For about 3 days, I was just mute because I did not know how to explain that experience. I did not know whether anybody would believe it.
Right. Right.
And so you understand why I say I don't talk about it
It's
much.
too personal experience
Yes.
for other people to understand.
It took me a while to
Right.
even hear that people call that an out-of-body experience. It's
Right.
one time I was watching TV and then I had some people explaining the same thing and they said it's an OBE. So I said, all right, so I can now put a terminology to that particular
To that
thing.
experience that I had. Right.
And so that drastically just shifted
Right.
the course that I was
And it
gonna
must have
take.
been a real defining moment for you.
Yeah, that's why for some of us, serving God, we don't do it out of convenience.
Right.
You don't do it because you feel like.
Right.
This was a negotiation.
Yep.
You bring me back, I do that.
And I will do this, and I want to
So-
keep my end of the bargain. And
Yeah,
since then, you have
yeah.
kept that end of the
Yes,
bargain.
yeah.
And I must say, man, you've raised an amazing, amazing ministry. New Birth, an amazing one. And especially even during this COVID times, I think you guys have been online all the time. You have ministered to many households. You've ministered to many families. And I'm sure many people will agree with me.
Yeah.
You guys have been such a blessing, especially in this time.
Yeah. And I think that God just prepared us in a way.
Right.
A lot of people thought that we were prepared logistically. We weren't. We just
Well,
took
sometimes I'm with them.
it. I was speaking in Mombasa
Right.
when the order for all churches being closed came
Right.
on a Sunday night.
Right.
And so I got back on Monday.
Right.
And I asked our media team, can we go online tomorrow? Because
Right.
we had this Tuesday service. And I said, can we go online tomorrow? And they said yes. And to what many people don't understand, we didn't even have the equipment. We used to hire
Right,
equipment.
right.
And we said, can we get it? So one of the guys, the leaders, says, okay, I'm going to talk to the person that supplies us with that. Let's see whether we can get the equipment tomorrow.
Right.
And we got in.
Right.
We were 1 hour late the first night because
Right.
we were trying to figure out how to go about it
Right.
that particular night. We had changed from, because we had been doing the live from church, we had moved to the office,
Right.
try to find our way from there, and it's never been the same.
Out of it, today we have morning mist that goes every week.
Yeah.
We have Commonwealth, I think, every Monday.
Yes.
We have
the shepherd stuff
every Monday as well.
Yeah. We've got Winds of Worship.
Winds of Worship, and I'm a fan on that one. I'm a fan on it, especially your reggae edition.
Yeah.
I'm a big
yeah,
fan on
yeah.
that one.
We
But
started
we also have the CJ caught out of this.
Yes, and it started very interestingly, Dennis. It started with just a Saturday. I thought guys are not watching football.
Right.
Guys are not going for weddings, no parties, no
Right.
funerals, no
Right.
nothing. So
Right.
people are home. It's Saturday.
Right.
What do we do? And I said, I'll put up something online called the Saturday Starter,
Right.
which will be a starter before church.
Right.
So we did that the first time. Then the second one, I brought in a friend. We had a discussion. The third one, brought in a friend. We had a discussion.
Right.
We started going towards the direction of life skills.
Right.
So we decided let's separate this from the spiritual, because the whole week people are preaching.
Right.
So we might as well just bring in something else that talks about general life.
Right.
So I separated that. So that's how we got the shepherd stuff
Right.
that will keep the pastors coming in and talking about their stories.
Right.
And so as it kept on going, I remembered, look, I've been doing something which I already registered before. I've been doing something called CJ's Court.
Right.
And now I finally am in the place where I think I can bat out this thing.
Right.
So that's how we rebranded again from Saturday Starter to CJ's Court.
CJ Court. And it's becoming a big show, man. I mean, guys are tuned up every Saturday.
So if you look at the sequence, then the thing is that things become clearer as you go.
As you go. That's right. That's right.
That's the whole thing that I'm saying, that things become clearer as you go.
Correct.
A lot of people hold back.
Right.
Because they want to have absolute clarity.
Right.
They want to begin from a point of perfection.
Right.
They want to have all the money that they need.
Right.
They want to have everybody that they need.
Correct.
They want to be in the place and the shape and the mindset that they need to be before they start.
Right.
But things get clearer as you go.
An interesting one. I think it's a question of then where is that place of balance between wanting to do something that is not substandard, and also not waiting too long for perfection, because then you've got to start at some point, and that balance sometimes is an issue.
That's true. You know, excellence, Dennis, is there's nobody who has the mark of excellence.
Right.
Excellence is you doing the best and the most with what you have.
Correct.
So to somebody, excellence will be an 80%. To
Right.
somebody else, excellence will be 50%.
Right.
Because if this person's capacity was 30% and they have hit 50, you cannot tell them they failed.
Right.
You must also appreciate the fact that this person had only this to work with.
Right.
So in excellence, you've got to look at what did the person have to work with. So if I am, for example, beginning something and all I had was a phone, you must judge my excellence based on the phone.
On the resources I have at the point in time. Right.
So you look at what did the man do with the phone, and then you will say, my goodness, just with the phone, that's really something.
Right.
So excellence is not even how much we have in terms of physical resources. And that's what sometimes people wait for. And they're thinking, because I want to have a mark of excellence, I must have all of these things coming together. It starts here.
Right.
It's in your mind.
Right.
And the creative process is a journey.
Right.
God did not create everything in one day.
In one day.
He came in and day one, he said, that's good.
Right.
Now, that's something else that, again, people must understand.
Right.
You have to learn how to appreciate the process to where you want to get to.
Correct.
Appreciate that today I've done this.
Right.
That's good enough.
Right.
Tomorrow, I'm going to bring in something else.
Right.
And then I appreciate, and I say, that's
And each
good.
of these becomes like a milestone.
Yes.
And I celebrate my milestones as I go along.
That's true.
And you see, why that is powerful is because that waiting for when it shall be perfect has costed quite a number of people. And I want to say myself, I was one of those casualties. I mean, I wanted to do this.
Right.
And I probably have wanted to do this maybe for more than 5 years now.
Right.
But I'm not sure exactly where to start and how to start. Shall it be good enough? And all of this. And we lose time as far as that is concerned. I think if I'm hearing you right, you're saying, get started.
Yes, you've got to get started. There's a place where, in all fairness, you can begin from.
Right.
Again, we're not advocating for somebody just coming and doing some shambolic job.
Correct.
But there's a place where, in all fairness, you can get started. The question is, what do you need to get started?
Exactly.
If you have the bare minimum, it also depends on where do you want to go.
Right.
And how long do you want to do this?
Right.
If I'm in it for like another 5 years, then I know it will be a journey.
Right.
If you're coming in for a sprint, then you might as well want everything at the same time, put it on, and then do one show, two, hit, and leave.
Right.
But if you're looking at it in the long term, like you want to do something for the next 10 years, then you know I'm on a journey.
Right.
And every step, every week, every month, every year, there's room for improvement.
Correct.
So I know where I'm going to. And I'm going to start from where I am as I grow towards that place.
Right.
Dennis, parenting, entrepreneurship, pioneering in ministry, all of those, they teach you patience in process.
Right.
You see the beauty of it.
Right.
But then you learn how to just work with it. I'm going to say something, it's quite personal, but my last son took so long to speak. My first son spoke quite fast. The second one took a bit. When he started talking, he was all over the place. My last son took quite some time till we were getting a bit worried about it. Until I had somebody who said that his son first spoke, uttered the word. He could not even mention anything. Uttered the sound at 4 years.
Wow.
But you see, you don't give up parenting at that stage because this person is not speaking. Now, today, when my son says certain things, to somebody else it may not make sense. To me, I celebrate the victory
Absolutely.
because I know what it has taken him to get to that particular place.
Right.
So we also must learn how to appreciate and celebrate process.
Right.
That, do you remember when we were using a phone? Let me tell you the truth.
Yep.
I've got one of my guys, Honest, and he will tell you that we used to do photography using his phone. And I would be giving him this picture of what I want. And then he would go back and check how his phone would work the best.
Right.
And then he would do photos using his phone. We didn't even have a camera. And then we would post that on social media. And nobody would know.
Right.
You know, you've got to learn how to use
So
what you
excellently, you use the phone to deliver what you wanted to do. That's what you had then, but you applied excellence to it.
That's true.
Right.
Because, again, you can have the greatest equipment and not know how to operate
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you've brought many things. The starting point, the vision, the process, the staying through it. And the fact that then, and maybe you may also want to bring up then the question of partnerships in helping this thing work out.
Right.
I mean, this is you and Ernest trying to work it out. And there must be a place of partnerships as well.
There must be. And the people who come to you need to see what you see.
Right.
And when there's a compelling vision,
Right.
people find their part in that.
Correct.
Because everybody around us is gifted in their own way.
Right.
Sometimes they will come up with stuff. You know, the things, I'll tell you the truth, the things that will be posted on the group for Articulate Media, I won't even bother. I won't even open and check out because I know my mind is not going to grasp that thing. So I'll wait for them to go through it. Once they've understood it, they explain it to me in ABC.
In a palatable language.
So I'm not going to fight with anybody over there.
Right.
But I will always function well in bringing out the vision.
Right.
In finding out the gold mine in the people.
Correct.
Just to find people and see what they can do and bring them up and encourage them and set up the stage and the platform for them. I know I will do well with that.
Right.
So the thing is that and
therefore, you find your place in this organization.
Completely.
And therefore, for you, you know, your best place is a vision-setting space.
You know, Dennis, I've been a guest, and today I'm a guest here. I've been on this side of the show.
Right.
I've been on that side of the show.
Right.
I've been behind the scenes.
Right.
And before we came onto the set, I was just thinking, I now enjoy not being on the platform, but being a platform.
Correct.
That's what I enjoy the most.
You become a platform.
You become a platform.
Right.
So that people can take off from that.
Right.
Where I can use my knowledge, my experience, my expertise to give somebody a foundation which they probably would not have.
Right.
Or if they were to get it, it would take them quite a long time to do.
Right.
Because then their success becomes an expression of my own success and my journey.
Right.
But you've got to learn what do
and you've
people
done
have.
well at that, Chris. I like your modesty, but the truth of the matter is, I mean, you have raised many, and you've become a platform for many.
Yeah.
And allow me just to, on the Goldmine Show, really appreciate you.
Thank you.
On the amazing work. I mean, you've nurtured quite a number of them, and this is absolutely commendable. You're an author as well.
That's true.
Where did this come? Is this from the poems you used to write in?
I think because sometimes I love to go into this my quiet space.
Right.
So I will read.
Right.
I will write.
Right.
I love to think.
Right.
And sometimes then I'm just thinking like, you know, why don't I put this down?
Right.
And I find myself expressing myself a lot through writing.
Right.
It is a safe space for me.
Right.
It's an open space for me to express my deepest thoughts, my inward thoughts.
Correct.
So I've written books to start up conversations as well.
Right.
Currently there are 8
Right.
that are published.
Lions.
I
Lion
know
and
you love
Cage.
Lions
I
and
love
Cage.
that one.
I've got Leprous Generals.
The Leprous General, an amazing book, man.
Yeah,
and please, you need to catch these books because I want to recommend them for anybody. Amazing book, Leprous General.
Leprous Generals, you know, we did a pilot of a movie with it and we're still working around it.
Right.
We did a whole pilot of a movie. And we were converting it into a TV drama series.
Right.
So last year we shot it into a movie.
Right.
One of the craziest projects of Articulate by that particular point. And we had a lot of learning in it.
I'm buying popcorn in advance as I wait for the movie.
Yeah. So
Right.
I've got Work Your Grace.
Right, work your grace, yes.
Which just encapsulates the thoughts that I'm talking about right now. It is
Right.
like, never look at what you have as being too little.
Right.
Take that little that you have
Right.
and then go out with it. A farmer never says that this seed is too small to plant.
Correct.
You go out and you plant your seed.
Right.
And then your seed will bring in a harvest.
Yep.
And the next time you'll have more seed
Right.
to go out.
Right.
So we mostly want to have great harvest.
Right.
And we despise what we have. So I talk about that Work Your Grace.
Right.
I talk about, I've got the other book, Ways of the Wise.
Right.
I've got the other book, Days of Favor.
Right.
There is Activate Your Faith.
Right.
And there's one, It Is Not Well.
Yes. And I think that was a very personal book, particularly.
Yes, it was.
Right.
I was helping a friend through
Right.
a grieving period.
Right.
But I'd just buried my mother 3 months before
Correct.
that. And this man calls me and he says, I've lost my sister and I
Right.
want you to conduct the service for me.
Right.
That was not a comfortable place to be.
Correct.
But again, in relationships, you must learn how to sacrifice for the other person. So I
Right.
thought, if it were myself,
Right.
what would I want?
Right.
This man has trusted me enough. So I had to go to the mortuary and conduct a service. And the whole place was filled with Muslims because
Right.
this lady was working at a school that was run by Muslims. So I'm thinking, how am I going to minister to these people, bring sense to these children who are hurting over here? And it started with just 3 perceptions that I was sharing with them. That in death, there are 3 perceptions. There's how God views it, how the dead would view it, if they were...
You got to
and
have a
then-
view on it.
And then our view, those of us who remain,
Right.
just for people to have perspective. To God, it is homecoming.
Right.
To the one who has left, they move out of pain and sorrow
Right.
and all of that.
Right.
They totally rest.
Right.
It is we who remain who feel the pain.
Right.
But both to God and to the person, especially if they die in Christ, to both of them, it is gain.
It is great.
Yeah.
You're a producer. How did we get into production?
I was given my first stage for drama. Actually, it was a poem about 36 years ago.
Right.
And I never thought that I would. Again, that is where you get to understand this element of mentorship and people drawing you. My mother was my teacher
Right.
at that time. So
Right.
we had a school prize-giving day. And she decided that, because every class was supposed to present something, so she
Right.
decided that I was going to be part of it.
Right.
I still remember, it was a shairi, I still remember part of my lines,
Right.
36 years down the line.
Right.
That was my first stage for public speaking
Right.
and acting, and I think it stirred up something. So continually then I would be on the stage doing one thing or the other,
Right.
drama or poetry.
Right.
That's how eventually I ended up in things like writing my own poems
Right.
and stuff.
Right.
So I was in the drama group in university as well,
Right.
just trying to get my way around there as well.
Yeah.
It's just the place of, Dennis, God did not create any one of us with just one gift, even though most of the time we think so.
Right.
When we go to school, we are given 9 subjects, 10 subjects.
Right.
And we actually go through classes
Right.
with 10 subjects, 9 subjects. As we grow, we begin to hear this thing about specialization.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But sometimes it can become a crippling thought
Right.
where you feel you're only good at one thing.
One thing.
Yet, then the reason I use the crippling thought is that what really happens is that you lose the strength to challenge yourself in the other areas.
Right.
So you just give up on it.
Right.
It first begins mentally. You say,
Right.
I know, I'm not good at that.
Right.
So it first begins mentally.
Right.
What if we challenged ourselves and said, can I do that?
Right.
But we mostly say, I'm not good at that, so I'm
Right.
just going to focus on this.
Right.
There are a lot of gifts that children grow up with.
Correct.
I mean, some of the people who are very quiet right now, the people who say are introverts, if you ask their parents, they were very talkative when they were
When they
young.
were younger.
They had certain experiences
Right,
in life
right.
that caused them to go quiet.
Right.
Some of them were very creative with their hands.
Right.
They sat in a class for so many years.
Right.
They were taught to write answers.
Correct.
They lost this edge
Right.
of using their hands.
Right.
Now they're thinking only about their bills.
Right.
And so because of the element of also thinking about the bills, somebody begins to feel, I only need one thing,
Right.
something that can put food on my table.
Correct.
God didn't create us to
Right.
do things to put food on the table.
Right.
He created us to create.
Right.
While at it, the food is supposed to come.
It's a
to the
byproduct.
table. Yes, but
Right.
we are so focused
Right.
on having the food on the table that we have ignored certain things.
Right.
So you'll find somebody's a good singer,
Right.
but they're thinking music doesn't pay.
Right.
So let me go and
So
get.
they abandon that.
They abandon that. Somebody will say, like I told you, art. If I can't take care of myself through drawing.
Right.
So let me leave it
And try something different.
and try something else.
Right.
So sometimes they go even into things that they really don't like.
Correct. Just to
And
take care of the bills.
Just to take care of the bills.
Right.
It is important for you, if you're going to live a full life,
Yep.
to explore yourself.
Right.
I'm in my 40s, man, and if I'm going to live until 90,
Right.
what will I do with the next 40 years?
We might as well explore what we
Yeah,
must
we
do.
might explore.
Right.
Because as you say,
Yep.
we're gold mines.
Right.
But you might just find that there are more minerals in there.
And you have not even discovered. We might find the diamond, the mines,
That's
and
true.
the.
That's true.
You bring an important point almost as we bring this to a close. Jim Collins in his book Built to Last talks about the tyranny of or,
Right.
which is a bondage spot
Yeah,
that says
yeah.
it either has to be this
Or the
or
other.
the other.
Yeah.
And he actually talked about then we've got to overcome the tyranny of or
Right.
and flow into the genius of and.
Right,
That actually
right.
says it can actually be this
And
and this.
the other. Right,
And in
right.
fact, he talks about in that book and he says great organizations have actually pushed the bar on both.
Right.
So I am great at this and also at this.
Right.
Because then I discover the fullness of what it is. And I think, Chris, that's what you embody, man.
I tell my guys all the time.
Right.
We make certain switches. So
Right.
there's times when I will talk to them and say, okay, we are doing church.
Right.
This is church stuff.
Right.
Then one day I'll come up and I'm talking about C.J. Scott. I say, I don't want to see church around there.
We're doing
not
marketplace
church.
stuff.
We're doing marketplace
Right.
stuff. And so they switch.
Right.
Every now and then.
Right.
So when I'm in church, you will see the titles and the stuff.
Right.
I'll go out into the marketplace. I would go for morning shows.
Right.
And I would rebrand
Right.
because of that. So
Right.
out there, don't use any title. We will use C.J. Atemo. That will find for
Correct.
everybody else.
Right. And you fire on that platform
and
under
I will be
C.J.
fine.
Atemo completely.
Yeah.
Right.
You've got to learn which version of you is required.
On which platform.
Yeah.
Correct.
Even Paul in the Bible, he says, I became all things
Right.
to all men.
Right.
So to the marketplace people, I became a marketplace person.
Right.
To the creatives, I become a creative. To the church people, I become
Right.
a church guy.
I want you to look at that cameraman and look, there are a lot of stuff trapped up inside. And as you say, there is gold, there is on diamond on this other side, there's titanium on this other side. How do we go about this so that we become the fullness of everything we're supposed to be?
You see, Dennis, and for everyone else who's watching, I will use the example of South Africa as a nation.
Right.
They don't just have one mineral. They've got gold, they've got copper, they've got diamond, they've
Right.
got all of those things. You cannot just tie yourself to one thing, probably because that is what you have discovered or because that is what you have been told that you can bring out. You have to go into a journey of self-discovery, and you must know that every gift that you have, every experience that you have, every knowledge, every expertise is supposed to benefit the people around you, not just yourself. So when you have a knowledge of something, do not neglect it, do not ignore it, do not diminish it, do not think, I just know a little of it. I never knew I could sing till I was actually in campus. That's when I started singing in church.
And we've not even talked about your music, man. This man has amazing music, man. You've got to check him out on YouTube as well. Right.
The thing is, push yourself to discover yourself.
Right.
Life is a journey,
Right.
first of all, of knowing God.
Right.
Second of all, of self-discovery.
Right.
Because you're a creation of God.
Right.
And even God himself cannot be understood. So
Right.
how can you then easily define his own creation?
Correct.
Yet man is the hallmark of God's creation.
Right.
That man is the epitome of God's wisdom.
Right.
That's why, man, I'm not supposed to preach on Goldmine, but that's why
yes.
the psalmists say, what is man? That
you're
you're mindful
mindful.
of him,
Right.
or the Son of Man that you think about him and
Right.
visit him.
Right.
Because man is a whole complexity.
Correct.
This is God in flesh. This is spirit on earth.
Right.
This is divinity and the clay,
Right.
all combined together.
In one.
This is the only being that has absolute communion with God.
Right.
And yet still is supposed to rule on earth. Now, if we're supposed to rule here, he must have invested in us.
Right.
We cannot rule if we do not discover those instruments
Right.
of dominion
Right.
that we have.
Right.
Our gifts are part of them.
They're instruments of that
The
dominion.
instruments of dominion.
Right.
Our creativity is
It's an instrument of dominion. Right.
So when we become creative, we leave humanity better.
Right.
Anytime you don't use what God gave you,
We demean it.
right,
And we rob from ourselves the capacity
and the generations to come.
and the generations to come,
Yeah.
from whom we have borrowed the universe.
Right.
We are running on today. Man, we cannot finish this show. Man, you just want to give us your closing word. I think we'll have to have you back, because I don't think we're even anywhere close to finishing it.
Right. But look, enjoy the journey of life.
Right.
Money is important, but it's not everything.
Right.
Enjoy the journey of life. Don't set aside certain gifts and abilities, certain desires that you have just because you feel it will not make you money. Let it not always be the bottom line, because a lot of us are giving up living just because we are trying to make a living. So we have music in us, we have dreams in us, we have passion in us,
Right.
we have mentorship in us, but we are not living because we feel like that one will not pay me. So we are going for the job, we get the money, but we are dying inside. I need you to just break out of that cocoon
Right.
and live and live to the full.
Right.
You will make the money somewhere along the line, and if you make it, praise God. If you don't make it, you will still have died fulfilled.
You know, I want to close it with the words of Dr. Miles Monroe.
Right.
And he actually says that the cemetery has actually been discovered to be the richest of places. And the thing why we do the gold mine is to remind you, man, you cannot take the instruments of your power into the cemetery. I mean, they are required here to make a difference, here for you to live the way you're supposed to live. So don't allow anybody to stereotype you. And most importantly, don't allow yourself to stereotype yourself, because then God sees you in many different dimensions. And bring out the gold inside of you. And should you discover diamond, we've said today there could be diamond.
Right.
Bring out the diamond as well. There could be titanium inside. Bring out the titanium inside of you. There could be music. Bring it all out, my friend, and become everything that you are meant to be. This is a Goldmine show. We see the greatness inside of you, and I want you to tell me, what did you hear, Reverend C.J Atemo, musician? Man, you've got many titles. Many things in different.
The School of Leadership.
We didn't even talk about the School of Leadership, my friend, man. We've got to do another edition of this show, man.
Right,
We've got to do a lot of this. And if Chris can do all of these things, then it's time you ask yourself, what are you truly worth? What is on the inside of you?
Dennis, we've got to strike a deal.
Yes.
When I come back, we both wear Christivity designs.
Deal, my friend. Deal.
That's the only
He's
way
just
I'm
reminding me,
coming
he's also a designer, man. He's got creativity out there. What else do we need to mention?
Well,
Oh my goodness, man. I mean, it's plenty of it. Plenty of it. Creativity, School of Leaders, Castle.
yeah, Mandate Enterprises, we've got Articulate Media, we've got the books, we've got CJ's got, we've got a few things. We've got the music, we've got the movie. Yeah, we've got the movie.
I told you I'm buying the popcorns ahead of time because I want to watch this movie, man.
Yeah.
Follow us on the Goldmine Show on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on Instagram. Check out CJ Court as well on Instagram and on Facebook, and
Right.
also on YouTube as well. Check out Winds of Worship. All of this, they're called the Royal Priesthood, man.
Yes,
it's one of
yes.
my favorite, of course. Check them out, man. Look, you can't afford to be caged. Uncage yourself. You owe it to yourself to become the greatness that you are. Until next time, and this has been a Goldmine show, one of the most difficult shows to finish up. I've managed to finish others, but this has been the Goldmine show. Thank you so much for your time. Let us know what you picked out of today, and as you become the greatness that you're supposed to be. Until next time, God bless you, and thank you very much.